Pole elastics. Absolute minefield out there. It's so confusing for any newcomers to the sport. There's different types of elastics, there's hybrids, there's hollows, there's solids, there's plastic connectors, there's Dacron connectors, there's a bead method, there's crow's feet, you name it, there's all kinds of stuff to confuse you when it comes to pole fishing. So I want to give you a simple guide to pole elastication. Okay, so the first elastic, the solid elastic. Now this comes in various different forms, but this is where it all began for pole fishing. Solid latex style elastics are where it all began. There's loads of different types of this on the market, but without a doubt, the original slip is probably the most popular with the top match anglers. The reason is it's got this sort of smooth finish to it. It's almost got like a powder to it. It's coated in a slip lubricant. And if you want to use like a solid style elastic, a solid latex, this is the stuff to get on. But there is loads on the market. Like I say, there's latex, natural latex, which are all great, but this stuff by far is the most popular. Now, what is it? Well, it is, like I say, the original style elastic. It's natural latex, so it's a natural product. It's very cheap. I think this is, you know, it's £2 for 5 meters, so it's the cheapest option you've got out there. So if you maybe on a budget, that kind of thing, then this could be an elastic that you go for. You can get it from grades 2 right up to an 18. So you've got loads of scope there. A 2 is super fine. You'd probably use it for like light canal fishing in shallow water, small fish, roach, that kind of thing. Whereas the 18 is a brute of an elastic. And if you're maybe fishing near snags, things like that, then the 18 solid original slip could be the one for you. But by far where this elastic is really popular is for silverfish sport. By this I mean grades from 2 to probably the number 8, which is the black version. That is when this elastic is super popular among all match anglers. It is by far the smoothest on the market, and it's got what I'd call a controlled stretch. The other 2 elastics we're going to talk about in a minute are very, very stretchy, whereas this has got a much more progressive controlled stretch. It doesn't stretch as far, so if that's what you need in your fishing, this is the elastic to use. If you don't want loads of stretch, this is the stuff to go for. It's a great place to start. Like I say, it's cheap. You get 5 meters on the spool, so you've got enough to do a couple of top kits, dead easy. And if you're using like silverfish kits, you can get several top kits out of this stuff for a couple of quid. So it's really, really cheap. It lasts a long time as well, but it's not as hard wearing as the other 2 elastics we're going to talk about. So when it comes to solid elastic, like I say, this original slip stuff is definitely the best. You get loads on there, and this number 6 grade, this sort of pale yellow, and the original 5 is probably the river angler and canal angler's favourite weapon of choice. You know, if you do any kind of silverfish fishing, this is the stuff to get on. The reason is, when you're swinging lots of fish in, say you're fishing for roach, dace, that kind of thing, you don't want an elastic that stretches too much. You want to set the hook, a nice amount comes out, it's controlled, and then you can swing the fish to hand or keep, you know, a fish out of any snags or anything like that. However, this stuff can still be used for commercial fishing. There was a bit of a phase a few years ago where we were using this stuff actually doubled up. Original slip doubled up was an amazing elastic, championed by Alan Scott and Steve Ringer. It's an elastic that we all used to use an awful long time ago that was absolutely fantastic. The reason is it locks out. It's got like a smooth, controlled stretch. You probably get a couple of meters to come out really nicely. It then locks in position, and you can play the fish quite nicely with plenty of power. So if you were new to pole fishing and you just want a starting point, something to try the original slip. It's cheap, it just will not let you down. It's tried and tested. This stuff is over 20 years old and it's still going strong today. Let's say go to the tackle shop, get them to hook you up with maybe a number 8 or a number 10, something like that you can go and try on different venues, get used to pole fishing without it costing the earth. Original slip is the one to go for. Second elastic from this little chat we're having is hollow elastic. Now, if there's one elastic choice that I've used for my fishing more than anything else, it's this stuff. And it is actually these styles of elastics, the hollow and the Dura hollow. They're just fantastic. Now, these came around many, many years ago, late 90s, early 2000s, when anglers were looking for an alternative to the slip, like original latex style elastics. They wanted something with a bit more stretch and more durability, and that is where hollow elastics come in. If you just want an elastic that will not let you down, it'll stretch and stretch and stretch with a nice amount of power, and it lasts a long time in your pole, then this stuff is the one for you. Now, this one in particular, original hollow, has to be my all-time favourite elastic. In 11 and 13 grades, you just can't go wrong with it on commercial fisheries. It's absolutely awesome. It's just one of those elastics that you can just use for so many applications. You know, whether you're targeting big kart, you still get them in because you've got the power, or whether you're just targeting smaller F1s, skimmers, that kind of thing, then the 11 will do the job for you. Absolutely brilliant stuff. It stretches for miles. The one downside to this though is the cost, and when you compare it to the other elastics we're talking about, it is much more expensive. It does last longer, there's no doubt about that, but if cost is something that you've got to seriously take, you know, into consideration, then this stuff may not be for you. But this stuff does last a long time, so it's a bit of an investment. It does cost a lot of money, but like I say, it does work really well, and it has been a favourite of mine since I was a teenager. So brilliant elastic. There's two options in the Preston range. You've got the Dura Hollow and the normal hollow. It's a pick and choose really which one you want to use. My favourites out of the two ranges, I like the 11 and the 13 from the original hollow, and I like the 10 and the 8 from the Dura Hollow. If I pick them four, I can pretty much do all my fishing with those. Now the final elastic that we've got to talk about, and the new kid on the block, is Duraslip hybrid elastic. Now without a doubt, this stuff has taken the market by storm. So many anglers use this, and for good reason. It's probably my #1 choice now. I still use the original slip, the 5 and the 6 from like my silverfish fishing on rivers and stuff, but I must admit, when it comes to commercial fishing, I'm using this pretty much exclusively these days. I just love it. I absolutely love it. Now what are the advantages to Duraslip? Well, as the name suggests, it's kind of got hybrid properties between the original slip and the hollow elastics. By that I mean you still get the slim diameter and the lightweight nature of a solid elastic, because it is a solid elastic, but you get the stretch factor of hollow elastic. It's incredibly stretchy, this stuff. Stretches for miles, and it is just unbelievable. And as the name suggests, it lasts a long time. It's durable. I've had some in my kits now for well over a year. The 11 in particular is one that I use an awful lot, be it in short kits, normal long kits, and it is fantastic. Goes from grades from 5 right up to 19, so again you've got all manner of different grades to use, and that will cater for your fishing. Another big factor with this stuff is price. Now you're getting similar performance to hollow elastic. You maybe don't get quite as much stretch, but it's close, but it's at a fraction of the cost. You know, this is probably half the amount of the hollow elastic, so a much cheaper option, and one that, like I say, anglers everywhere are switching to this from hollows and much prefer it now. It's lighter in your pole, so your pole feels better. It's smooth every time you strike. It's fantastic. Now one drawback with hollow elastics is when it gets cold, their performance can suffer. By that I mean they actually like lock out in your pole, the inner actually freezes up. No such problem with this, so you still, no matter what the temperature is, whether it's warm, cold, you're getting the same performance with this stuff. Absolutely brilliant elastic, and one that I simply can't do without these days. So one thing you've got to consider when buying a pole is what kind of PTFE bush you're going to use. Now there are two different types on the market. We've got external and internal versions. Now external was all the rage for many, many years. These actually fit around the #1 section or the #2 section of your pole. They're very easy to use. The elastic does run really smoothly with these, and if you want to remove them, it's dead easy to remove them. If you want to say put a #1 section back in your pole, something like that, a little bit more user friendly with that. The one disadvantage with this though is obviously it's on the outside of your pole, which can become a problem for tangles. So if you're worried about tangles, don't use the external. The much neater and preferred option for me are internal bushes. Now for me, these are the only ones to use. Most of like the Superior poles, the response poles that Preston have done over the years, all come with these pre-fitted, so you don't even have to worry about that. A lot of the good poles nowadays come with these pre-fitted, but if they don't, and you do buy a pole that needs bushing, it would be my suggestion to get the internals. Obviously you can use externals, but for me these are just way more effective. They're just neater. You don't get tangles if you want to slap the pole like you do when you're shallow fishing. It just stops you getting tangles. Now PTFE bushes are essential because they help your elastic run inside the pole. Basically they're a little bush that obviously goes in right in the end of your pole, and your elastic runs over it. Now because it's super smooth PTFE material, it stops the elastic wearing against the pole tip. It makes it super smooth, so when you strike into a fish, plenty comes out. They're just essential. I've tried, back when I was a kid, I remember trying to bodge it up with all different kinds of stuff, but trust me, just go get a pack of these. They're really cheap now. You get 3 in a pack, whether you choose the external or the internal, you know, it's up to you at the end of the day. But like I say, I suggest this one, and they're an absolute must for all pole anglers. Now, when it comes to actually connecting your rig to your pole elastic, there's a few different options available, but for me, these are the 2 main ones. Especially if you're a newcomer to pole fishing, these 2 are the ones you're going to be sticking with. Now, the simple plastic connector is probably the one that we all started pole fishing using, and if you are a newcomer to pole fishing, I strongly recommend you try these. They're a little bit bulkier, they're a little bit heavier on your pole and stuff, but they do make pole fishing easy. And if you are a newcomer, you're still getting familiar with how to attach your rig to the elastic and all them kind of things, then these are the only ones to go for, really. Dacrons and stuff, what we'll talk about in a moment, are fantastic, but I think for newcomers, these are the best option. So the hollow plastic connectors, they come in loads of different sizes. The plastic connectors we do them for, you know, for small elastics, right up to these ones that are designed for hollow elastics, which are the thicker elastics. Basically, they've got this sleeve at the bottom, which is where your elastic goes inside. You tie a knot in there, put it back in position, and that is your elastic secured. Then you've got this little collar, and then you've got a little hook here for your rig. So when you get to your session, you take your rig, put the loop over this, slide this little collar into position, and your elastic in your rig is super secure. That locks into place. You can hear it almost like clicking. It's just a brilliant little system. Now, if you are, like I say, if you are looking to use hollow elastics, then this one is probably the one you want to use, because as the name suggests, it is designed with hollow elastics in mind. It's got this big bore here, which will take a hollow elastic. But there's loads of these plastic connectors available on the market, so whether you choose a Preston one or whatever, it's totally up to you. But that little beauty, like I say, if you are a newcomer to pole fishing, they're definitely just the most easiest way to actually get pole fishing, because you can just take your rig on and off just by removing this collar, and it just makes life really easy. However, as you get more and more experience with pole fishing, these can almost be a little bit cumbersome and a bit, I don't want to say numb, but they are a little bit numb. They're a bit heavy on your pole tip. They're just a bit ugly at times, and as nice as these are, you know, as you progress up the pole fishing ladder, as it were, you will probably be looking for an alternative. These are brilliant, don't get me wrong, and will do you proud all of your pole fishing career if that's what you want to go for. But Dacron connectors are definitely the #1 choice of the top level angler. Now, these beauties are the slip Dacron connectors. As you can see, you get 3 in a packet, so enough for 3 top kits there, and these beads can be used over and over again. Now, these are really simple beads to use, Dacron connectors to use. You simply attach your elastic to this loop of Dacron. You see that? Then the bead slides over the top, and then you're locked in position. The rig is then lassoed to this bit of Dacron here, like over the top, pulled down tight, and away you go. Absolutely brilliant. The reason top anglers really like these days, and you know, a lot of match anglers in particular use these, is because they're pretty much tangle free. Now, because of this stiff material here, this actually pushes the rig away from the pole tip, meaning less tangles, because it's probably a good inch away from the pole tip, so it can't actually wrap around it. It's a really good system, that is. Absolutely brilliant. Dacron connectors for me are the #1 choice. Now, a real unsung hero of pole fishing is the simple diamond dye elastic threader. Now, it's all well and good having all these lovely elastics and connectors and everything, but you actually need something to get the elastic inside the pole. Now, when you get it factory fresh, brand new, the elastic often falls down and you can just thread it in by hand. However, when you've used your top kit a few times, it gets a bit of moisture in there. Getting that elastic in there can be a right bastard. That's where this beauty comes in. Diamond dye threader. Where would we be without the diamond dye threader? Something that David Preston himself came up with many years ago. As you can see, I won't unravel it because it ends up in a bit of a tangle, but as you can see there, it's got this tiny little crook there that the elastic goes through. So you use this end to thread it all the way through your top kit, and then when this gets near the end of the pole tip, you just click your elastic in there, thread it through your pole, and that makes everything so much easier. So for a couple of quid, they are one of the soundest investments you can buy as a pole angler. Another great investment as a pole angler is a bottle of lubricant. This divides opinion really when it comes to elastics. You know, some anglers swear by using pole elastic lubricant, others swear by just using lake water. I'm somewhere in the middle. if I've got this to hand, I will put it on my pole elastic. If not, I'm happy to just use the lake water. But I do believe your elastic performs better with this, and I think it lasts a bit longer as well because you're reducing the friction on the wall of the elastic when you give it a coating of this. In all the years of pole fishing, I still believe that this Duraslip elastic lube is the best one. It's super smooth, it's got this lovely creamy blue coloration. It just seems to cling to the elastic. It's brilliant stuff, it really is. Des Ship absolutely swears by this stuff, and if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me. And better still, I've got a bottle in my bag that I must have had 5 years now, and it's only that far down. So this 250ml bottle will last you God knows how long, because I don't think you need to do your elastic every single time. Every other match, give it a bit of this. All I do is, where my section is in half, when I've just taken it out of my hold hole, 2 or 3 quick squirts down this, and then I actually get the section in my mouth and blow down the like almost like a blow dart down the section, and you can see the lubricant go down the tip, comes out the other end. Absolutely fantastic stuff. So well worth the investment. I don't know how much this is these days, but that bottle there will probably last you 10 years plus. So it's well worth the investment. Now, we spoke about different options when it comes to connecting the elastic to the tip end where you attach your rig. Now, what are the options for the base end? Obviously, the elastic needs securing, otherwise it'd bugger off out the end of the pole, leaving you very red-faced. So there's a few options. There's 3 different options to consider. Unfortunately, I haven't got one here because we're out of stock, but I can talk to you about it and probably overlay a picture as well, just so you've got an idea. So the original system is this base bung. These Stora bungs, very, very effective. Basically, you trim these down to fit into your section, like that. You can see that. It's obviously like a cone shape, so you just trim it down whichever way, and it probably wants to sit 6 to 8 inches inside your number 2 or your number 3 section of your pole. Very, very lightweight way of doing things, very, very secure. And if you're a silverfish style angler, then these are probably the best way to go. You probably don't need to manually tension your elastic, as in playing fish, so much when you're silverfish fishing on rivers and stuff. So just having this out the way inside your pole is a very, very effective way of doing it. Now, to tension your elastic, to get it to just creep inside your pole tip, which is the tension that I think we all love as pole anglers, you've got this winder facility here. So when you've threaded your elastic inside your pole, simply make sure you've got a bit of excess elastic, attach it to this, and then you can wind it around this winder, which tensions your elastic inside your pole, so you get that desired tension where it just creeps inside your pole tip. Brilliant, brilliant thing that's probably underused these days, but still, if you're a traditional, I hate that word, traditional style angler who likes to fish rivers and canals, then this is probably what you're going to be using. Lots of different sizes available as well. This is just a maxi one that goes in bigger sections, but there's little diddy ones if you want to elasticate thinner sections of pole for like canal work and stuff like that. Now, the other options are more aimed at commercial fishing. There's no doubt about it. And they are side pullers. Now, there's also a puller bung as well, which is the one I haven't actually got here, but like I say, I'll overlay a picture. And for me, being able to manually tension your elastic when you're playing a fish was the biggest game changer in pole fishing. I remember when puller bungs first came out, I was on them straight away, as quick as a flash I was on them, and they revolutionised my pole fishing. Because at the time I was fishing a venue, the Willows at York, funnily enough. It was a venue where I was fishing for eyed a lot of the time, but you caught a few carp, and having the elastic on to net the eyed and not lose the eyed, but also give yourself a chance to land the carp, was invaluable. And I was using, I think it was a 9 hollow at the time, with a puller bung, and I was doing really well in my matches. Fast forward a few years, and Prest Innovations launched this beauty, the side puller. Now, it started with just a normal bush, a hole in the pole, and when I first got showed this by Andy Geldart, the hole in the pole, it must have been 15, 16 years ago at White Acres, and I thought it was crazy having a hole in his pole. I thought it's just going to snap, I'll stick to my normal puller bungs. But after using his top kits when we were practicing one day, I saw how effective it was, and that was it. I was a side puller user for life then. Now, basically what it is, it's a hole in the side of your pole. You can see that. The elastic comes out the side. So when you're playing a fish, this is almost like your reel. You can hear the roller puller doing its thing there. This makes playing carp so much easier. You've got, you know, your elastic streaming out your pole tip when you're playing the carp. This almost allows you to reel them in like a rod. Now, it's not for bullying fish or anything like that. It just allows you to get control when you're using Duraslip and hollow elastics that have got a lot of stretch to them. For me, the roller puller is the best. I know I'm going to say that because it's a Preston product, but it is. All the top anglers use these. They require a 10mm hole in a reinforced section of your pole. You see that it's got like a reinforced band on it. This is an Edge Monster top kit. It requires a 10mm hole, and then the roller puller can be fitted. The reason the roller puller is so good is that it just allows you to be super smooth with your setup. Like really, really effective. It's just a great, great system, and I wouldn't probably go commercial fishing without this anymore. Few options on the market, but without a doubt, if you are looking at side pullers, then this is the best way. So there you go, guys, a bit of an idiot's guide to pole elastics and all the little bits and pieces that you need to make pole fishing very, very simple. On the next video, I'm going to show you how to elasticate a top kit from start to finish. It's really, really easy. There's no great stress or strains about it. It should be simple, and it is simple. So in the next video, we'll cover that in detail. Now, thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you again on the next video.